Get started here. It's about 5 after 5. So, oh, Joel, hold on, Joel. Hold on.
I'm muted.
There you go. Gotcha.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think everyone knows me. I'm the Film Society 2020 board chair, and I think this is our first annual meeting, at least for 2020. So I'm very happy to have everyone that was able to show up, despite the circumstances. And I think we're going to be very conscious of everyone's time and keep this definitely under an hour, maybe even a little quicker. And Erica, you want to get us started then?
Yes, thank you, Joel. Thanks everyone for being here today. I'm really happy to see you. So what I'm going to do is share my screen. I'm going to go through our annual review of 2019, and we're going to talk about 2020 a little bit. So I'm going to share my screen, and you can all follow along. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat, but because I am going to have you on mute while I'm presenting. And if anyone wants to add something to what I'm saying, please again, just chat and I will unmute you. Or you should be able to unmute yourself, actually. So if it's urgent, just start screaming. So, all right, let's get started here. Can everyone see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Great, okay. So let's get started. Welcome to everyone who is with us. Today, we start out by saying happy birthday to John Lyons. It's April 20th, that's his special day. And later on at 7 o'clock on Facebook Live, we're going to be showing his short film, Hunting Camp. And so please join us there. So, what is the mission of the Film Society? We revised our mission statement this past year, and it really encompasses what we're doing. We want to elevate Erie's film industry, empower our regional filmmakers, and foster patronage for the art of film. Our vision is that we want to catalyze and unite community assets and attract filmmaking investment. That's a big piece of that, to grow the local economy and cultivate the art of film. So this past year, we also did some recategorization, I guess I would say. Previously, John, Stu, Jesse, and myself were board members. We were management service volunteers, if you will. Now we are officially staff, and we're no longer on the board, except for me as the executive director. John is our director of programming. Stu is the director of our Greater Erie Film Office, and Jesse is our project coordinator for the film office. As Joel introduced himself, he is our board chair. Our other board members are Dan Sloppy, John Banco, Steve Fetzner, and Sherry Robinson has been nominated. We will be voting in June. So we're going to take a look at the past, 9 years, 8 years? Some of our milestones. In 2012, we did our first strategic planning exercise with Decision Associates. We had a grant from the Erie Community Foundation to figure out, to kind of organize and shape up and get ready for the next 5 years. And we actually accomplished a lot that we set out to accomplish. So we're very proud of the first 8 years of our existence. We started film at the Erie Art Museum in 2012. That ran for 6 years. That was a really exceptional program. We stopped that pretty much when John Banco retired. And we transitioned over to the Bourbon Barrel. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We also launched our website. In 2013 to 2015, that was a big growth year for the Film Office. We launched the Film Office as a program of the Film Society. We joined the Association of Film Commissioners International. We also launched a program called Erie's Voices, which we did a few seasons of, working with local high school students. We formed partnerships with Greater Erie Arts Rentals, the Erie Movie House, Community Access Media, Blasco Movie Series, and TEDx Erie. We started our screenwriting and filmmaking competitions, and we hosted a number of seminars. The past 2 years, 3 years, we started, if you can believe it, in 2018, working with Undercover Billionaire when they were looking to get started here in our area. We launched Film Grain Dinner and a Movie in 2018. We have the Unearth started working in 2018, shot here. I shouldn't say started working. Unearth shot its actual, it did actually shooting in the, what is that, August 2018, John? I think that is. Shot here in Erie. And then we also hosted our first Film and New Media Dinner, which is an event that we hope to start having annually to recognize our local filmmakers. So if you look at the past 9 years, we're pretty proud of our accomplishments. 14,000 film screening attendees, 5 seminars, 2 youth education programs, 4 screenplay and filmmaking competitions, 50 plus film and television productions consulted, and 26 assisted. So we've been busy despite being a volunteer only organization. All right, let's look at 2019. Some of our highlights to point out first, we hosted over 2,000 Film Grain attendees. The film office hosted the premiere party for Undercover Billionaire after spending more than a year assisting them. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We hosted our 3rd annual Halloween party and we raised $2,600. We had a very successful Erie Gives Day, our most successful since we joined the nonprofit partnership. We raised about $3,500. We launched our Film Grain podcast, and we received a $15,000 grant from ECRA to build a new website for the Greater Erie Film Office. In total, 2019 finance, we had $54,688 of income, $35,896 expense, and net income for the year of $18,792. At the end of 2019, our bank balance was $45,850. Looking at our income from 2019, as you can see, Film Grain was our primary source of income, about 50%. Fundraising and grants make up another point. Contributions, that's mostly, that is mostly Erie Gives Day. Our expenses primarily are in Film Grain, but we also have legal and professional expenses. We did some strategic planning in 2019. But as you can see, it's mostly Film Grain, and that's a good thing because we make our money through Film Grain. So let's talk about Film Grain a little bit. We launched Film Grain Dinner and a Movie at the Bourbon Barrel in 2018. Here's a scene, a typical scene from our Film Grain experience. Highlights of 2019, we had 40 movie events with 2,000 attendees, 4 sellouts. One of our highlights was we did a live Q&A, virtual Q&A with Phil Tippett, who was a creative from the Star Wars series. We did that in partnership with Edinburgh University animation students. We showed 3 films that were made by local filmmakers, and that's really a great opportunity. It's a great venue for us to bring people into our area, into our film series. We really appreciate that. Oh, you miss Film Grain, people? I'm getting some chats that people miss Film Grain. We all miss it. We miss it. Our regional filmmakers. Anyway, what I was saying was with Film Grain, we're really grateful to have a venue where we can invite in local filmmakers and show local films, even if it's in partner, even if we show it with another film that we have programmed. It's really great. We also did some upgrading to the AV system. We're now paying, every Wednesday night we pay an audio tech. That has made a huge difference for us, and the Bourbon Barrel has been great to improve their system. We also saw an increase in pre-sale tickets, which is important. When we first started, I think our first night, I remember walking in, it was just jam-packed and people lining up at the door to buy tickets. And we've learned that's not really the best way to try to attend Film Grain. Pre-sale tickets are the way to go. So we've seen an increase in that, and that's been really wonderful. We do have some, satisfied customers out there, and I'm very proud to see that. We will always try to do our best to accommodate all of the guests, and the Bourbon Barrel's been great with that. Every time we've encountered any issue, they've been working with us really well to resolve it, and so we hope to keep getting better and better. So if you look at our film grain finance for 2019, we made about $26,741 with expenses 16,370, a net income in the program of 10,370. We did increase our ticket price in 2020. Part of that is because of the staff that we took on to manage our AV. That's a critical expense for us, so it's worth it. And we actually heard no, we had absolutely zero objections to the price increase, so that was nice. That means we know we are priced right. It's a great deal. So the film grain revenue, where does it come from? Well, pre-sales are primary, but of course the box office does have income there. Sponsorships we also get sponsors as well. And then food costs with the Bourbon Barrel are primary expense behind our, ahead of our, oh my gosh, licenses, sorry. It was, it's behind the chat box, so I couldn't read it. So I like looking at it this way because we have 3 seasons a year of film grain, and spring, summer, and fall. And as you can see here, spring is our best season. This is the same, you know, if you look at 2018, it's very similar. Spring is our most popular, summer is our least. We also launched the Film Grain podcast. So this was pretty important for us because this is an opportunity for us to talk about and promote. I mean, it's marketing for the Film Grain series, but it's also an awesome chance to talk to local creatives and filmmakers. We've had a really, really awesome time working with, well, we worked with Edinburgh University to launch it, and now we record at Community Access Media, and they're a great partner for us too. So all of you that are there listening, you need to be subscribed to the podcast and listen every week. We just launched one today. All right, now let's talk about the film office. There's Stu. There's Stu at our, this is at Undercover Billionaires premiere party, which was very exciting, that Stu hosted. So many of you are probably very familiar with Film Grain because it's a very public event. And you know, anyone can come, but you may not be familiar with everything that the film office does. Primarily, the film office is a liaison for visiting film productions from outside of our community, although sometimes local productions as well, helping them to find resources like crew, vendors, locations, things like that. It's also our job as the affiliated regional film office with the Pennsylvania Film Office to keep our regional database of locations continually updated. And I'll tell you about that in a second with our new website that's coming. We also see ourselves as ambassadors in our community for film as an economic powerhouse in any community. There is an economic impact that film has on a region, and we want to make sure that that impact is felt and known. That the potential is there by our local leaders and potential funders. Other things that we've done, hosting screenwriting and filmmaking competitions, recognizing local filmmakers at our Film and New Media Dinner. And we've done some seminars for local crew. So what's coming in the next few months is a new website, filmerie.com. I have an image here from the Pittsburgh Film Office just to give you an idea of what a Real Scout database looks like. So as we're affiliated with the Pennsylvania Film Office, we at the Greater Erie Film Office are the official kind of owners, so to speak, of the Real Scout database. And this is a database that goes all over the country. And Stu, you can correct me, but I believe all over the world. You can look for filming locations. So what you see here in this image, this is Pittsburgh, but we're going to be able to see locations for Erie on this new website, filmerie.com. And primarily it's there to market our region. It's there for when people are looking for film services, they will go to filmerie.com. They don't have to go to the Film Society website, and they don't have to go to visit Erie. They can come right to us. And it's an easy way to keep in contact. So as I said, we are affiliated with the Pennsylvania Film Office. We're also a member of we're the official film office for our region for the Film Commissioners International, and for we're not officially members, but we are associated with the Pennsylvania Film Industry Association, or PAFIA. They're a really supportive organization, and we've had some great contacts with them. We're also partnered with Visit Erie, because previously a lot of the requests for filmmaking assistance have come through Visit Erie. And that's one of the reasons why we started the film office, is because of the requests that were going to Film Erie, and we were talking to them all the time. So the Greater Erie Film Office came out of a need. So a really exciting thing is in 2020, the tax credit for filmmakers has increased by $5 million. And if you're unfamiliar, Pennsylvania has a tax credit for filmmaking. And if a film production spends 60% or more of their budget within the state, they get a 25% tax credit. This is a huge incentive for filmmakers across the country, because you can go to certain states and there's no incentive. You can go to other states where there's significant incentive, like New York and Georgia, and Pennsylvania is one of those states, which is why we know it's such a great opportunity for us to invite filmmakers to our area. So there actually is a potential for more tax credit money to go around in 2020, although I think we're all interested to see how things progress and how the COVID-19 pandemic affects the economy at the state level. So we'll be keeping our eye on that. I wanted to tell you about a few of the productions that happened in 2019 though. The biggest one was Undercover Billionaire. So Undercover Billionaire was a production that contacted us under the guise, if you will, truly undercover, as a documentary film crew. And we assisted them. Essentially, we were their first contact in our community, introducing them to a lot of the people that they ended up working with. They spent about $5 million in Erie and Los Angeles. They wouldn't actually give us the exact amount they spent in Erie, but we know there was a significant impact on our local economy. They hired people locally, they rented local equipment, and they stayed here locally as well. So it's just a nice, a quick look that, you know, a production like Undercover Billionaire could come here once or twice a year. We'd like to see them more often, but they can come and they do impact our community in an economic way. And that's part of what our mission is. So it was really exciting to see Stu. I happened to see Stu raising his hand. Would you like me to unmute you for a second, Stu?
I just wanted to add that not only all those things you just said, but Underdog Barbecue was also created.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for adding that. Yep. And that is certainly something that can have a very long-lasting economic impact even after the production has moved on. Thanks, Stu, for that reminder. So here's a quote from Tim Warren, who's the executive producer of Undercover Billionaire, and you can see, you know, they were very complimentary. They could not have done it without us. We're very proud of that. So I'll spare you reading word for word what he said, but I can always follow up and give you the slides afterwards if you would like to read them. So a few other film productions that came through in 2019, Freeletics Fitness Campaign. This was a local kind of infomercial that was shot here. They spent about $100,000. That was exciting. I have the video here, but I think I will not show it unless you want to see it. Do you guys want to see it? No? Yeah. Yes? All right, we'll do it.
What is Freeletics?
Jesse, do you want to explain what that is?
Yeah, it's basically a fitness app from a company that is based out of Germany. So their entire German marketing team came to Erie. This was all shot at Allegheny College. It's centered around this Army veteran who had used the app for his workouts. So this was like a promo spot that highlighted his experience with the app.
International.
Cool.
But yeah, Erica, you could always talk on top of it. We don't have to watch the whole thing.
Okay, all right. Well, then I will move on. But um, that was an exciting production to support, and it just gives you an example that of another type. You know, it doesn't have to be a full-fledged feature film. It doesn't have to be a series. There are smaller productions that come through all the time, but they are all important to us. Dark Waters was another smaller budget Discovery Channel show that came through. Again, 3 local crew were hired to work on this. There were rentals from 1 local vendor. The crew stayed in local Airbnbs for 4 days. Again, not a huge one, but all of these are important. We also helped out with some local projects, 0 budget or very low budget. Working with students from Edinburgh and Penn State is actually really important to us because the students at Penn State and Edinburgh, they are in filmmaking classes, they are in art classes, and they're looking at having careers in these industries. And we hope that our relationship with both of those universities help us with that brain drain, help us give these students opportunities to work as PAs or work on different productions. So it's very exciting to see some of them get hired and move on. One of the youngsters, I call them the youngsters, one of the young men that worked with the film office, he was hired to work on Undercover Billionaire, and since then he's kind of moved on and worked on a lot of really exciting projects. So we do see that students have an opportunity to get involved on local productions while they're here.
Sorry, he has actually joined the union now too.
All right, good. So the economic impact, when we look at it from a whole, when we look at 2019, there were 28 crew and actors that were hired through our efforts. 8 productions in total were assisted. 3 large projects rented equipment locally. 161,000 estimated in regional production budgets. That does not include Undercover Billionaire. 402,000 estimated economic impact from those local projects. And there's formulas that you can use to figure out economic impact. And we've spent some time working with the data center through the chamber, and their multiplier is about 2.5, which isn't that high, but it does show that there is a return on investment when films are made in our community. And we're actually committed to continuing looking at economic impact. I actually will be applying for a grant with the Erie Community Foundation to fund an economic impact study to further be able to make the case to show the economic impact of filmmaking, because we think that certainly makes a huge difference for people in our area that want to work in film. All of the industries that are touched by filmmaking, it's not just cameras and people who run the cameras, it's lodging and catering and transportation. It's a lot of those industries that just support our daily lives. You have a film crew, they're living here while they're working. So everything that you use, a film crew would use, and that all has an economic impact. So in 2019, we also did some significant strategic planning. We wrote a 5-year strategic action plan and budget. We developed a case for support. We updated our bylaws and we filmed some new committees. So how about 2020? We're here, it's April. It's already been a really crazy year. So far financially, we've had $13,298 in income, $15,998 in expense, for a net income of negative $2,600 essentially. But of course, this is just a snapshot of a few months. We have not had income coming in for the past month, but we also had some changes in our spending in 2020. We paid the first 50% to our web development company. So we wrote a pretty big check last month for that. And also we started paying a small stipend to the Film Society staff. So that's a new expense that we have. Our current bank balance is $43,015. I am absolutely happy to share our profit and loss sheet and balance sheet with anyone that's interested. Please just email me and I am happy to share that with you if you'd like more details. Film grain. So we had a really strong start to the year. I know many of you were there every week, like I was. We had a really, really strong attendance. We had a number of sellouts. Harriet, Parasite, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood were really big for us, but almost every film was a great night for us. I mean, it was just such a strong start to the year. So it's a shame that we're not seeing each other on Wednesdays. And so now we're in the coronavirus. So what are we doing? Well, we pushed back all of our dates for all of the films to July, but that is tentative because we actually don't really know what the mandates are going to be and what the recommendations for large gatherings are going to be, what it's going to be like at restaurants. Of course, this is dinner and a movie. So it's very possible that July date will not happen. It's very possible that, you know, we won't be back until the fall. For anyone who's bought tickets so far for any of our upcoming films, they can get refunds if they choose. We also would honor their tickets in a rescheduled event. However, again, things are still unsure. So we'll be communicating with everyone when we know what's going on. I'm sad because we're not really going to have the film program that we planned for the summer. One of those things was a monthly discussion series, having Brian Sheridan come and some really interesting films that we were going to have discussions around, but that's okay. We're rolling with it. But what have we done? So we have our Film Grain podcast, and we thought, well, what's some way that we can communicate with the community still, even though we're not going to see the Film Grain fans every week? So of course, we've got our podcast. We decided to change the format a little bit since we weren't necessarily meeting up with guests every week and we weren't previewing our upcoming film. We decided that we'd do this COVID-19 podcast series in which we pick one film and one series every week from a streaming service, and then we would all watch it and then talk about it. So we just, today we just released our 4th episode. It's been so much fun. I realize now that the conversations that we sit around and have with each other, putting that in a podcast is actually pretty entertaining. We've had our listenership has stayed strong, and we're really loving doing the podcast, and so we're going to keep doing it as long as we can. If people actually like the format, we might keep going even when we get back to Film Grain being a weekly in-person experience. So if you're not listening to our podcast every week, you must. And I had to put this picture in here of Stu and the rest of us. We always record ourselves while we're doing the podcast, and we really have a great time. So the last thing I want to tell you about is we have a new program that we started that is kicking off this Wednesday called Film Under Quarantine. Right now, because across the board, all of the film distribution companies, they're having to figure out what to do. They have all these movies and nowhere to show them. So they're doing virtual theater programs. And this is what we're doing. Essentially, this is you purchase a ticket, one ticket per household. It's $12 a ticket. And it's essentially a 72-hour rental of a film. And then we get together on Wednesday nights and we do a live panel. And we're starting this Wednesday, Earth Day. We're screening a film called Earth, which means any of you have already bought your tickets. I mean, you should have by now. Please buy your ticket, please watch, and please join the panel. Those will be at 8 p.m. on Wednesday nights. And it'll all be through, like, you'll watch your film at one link, then the panel will be available through the same link. And we'll do a panel with experts. So this week it's the New Deal, Green New Deal Coalition and Eco People at Meadville Area High School. All of our panelists, we're announcing all of this on Facebook. All of the new event information, it's all going to be on Facebook as we go forward. So you can see that we have our movies scheduled out through May 13th. I don't think we've got Once We Were Brothers on Facebook yet, so I'm kind of giving a little preview of what's coming. That's the documentary about the band that everyone is pretty excited about. So that's pretty much it. So that's Film Under Quarantine. That's our program response to being here in Coronaverse. We've got the podcast, we've got Film Under Quarantine. Our Film Under Quarantine is our opportunity to have some income coming in. So please support, please share, let people know about the event, because we really, we'd like to keep things coming through. That would be very, very helpful. Thank you. So please get involved as well. So you can donate to us and subscribe to our podcast by going to our website, filmsocietynwpa.org. There is a donate button there. Our address is there. Feel free to make a contribution by sending us a check in the mail. That is fine as well. We've gotten some unsolicited donations lately, and that has really warmed my heart. So please feel free to, to donate. Also, follow us on Facebook for all of our events. You can email info@filmsocietynwpa.org to get in touch with any of us at any time. But that's it. So any questions from anyone? I am happy to answer. Yes, Joel, I see you raising your hand.
Yeah, I just have one question regarding finance. I know we're taking a hit on revenue right now for obvious reasons, but did we apply for any of the CARE Act stuff? I know, are we a C3 or a C6?
3, 501c3.
That's, okay, so we qualify for a lot of that. The EIDL, the emergency income, something or other, and of course the PPP, the payroll protection program. Do you know if Sloppy recommended applying for any of that?
I have not discussed it with Dan, and I'll be honest, I made an assumption that nonprofits, especially of our size, that don't have a payroll, wouldn't really be eligible for anything. But you've intrigued me, and now I need to find out.
If you weren't in existence with a payroll prior to 2020, then you had to go back to your last 2 months. I think January, February, March, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could extrapolate those out into the next 2.5 months. That's how the formula was based.
Interesting.
I mean, if we've established, payroll guidelines for our staff, I honestly don't see. I mean, Dan would have to advise us on that, but we honestly, we could be talking tens of thousands of dollars here easily.
Well, and the other thing I would jump in and say, this is Deb. You might actually be able to get some recovery for the lost revenue from Film Grade.
Mm-hmm.
No question. Yeah, that's another program, but absolutely, and that's easily quantifiable.
Yeah.
But we need Dan, or who do we bank with?
Northwest.
Who's our bank?
Northwest.
I don't know anyone at. Yeah, I don't know anyone at Northwest.
I know some folks at Northwest. And I know they've been processing applications for people.
Oh,
they have. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we could just maybe make a call tomorrow and just kind of get a quick idea, as am I all wet here, or is it worth pursuing? But I know Velocity submitted, and we've already been funded, so it's a real thing.
Okay. Thank you, Joel.
Oh yeah.
Any other questions? It sounds like there's not any other questions. Okay, well, I have recorded this this presentation and I'll make it available. I also have a PDF of the annual report information. So, it's like a one sheet, easily digestible as well. So I'll share that too, probably via email. I'll share a link to download it. And again, if anyone wants to, Joel and the board, I'm going to send the financial report that I have from Dan to date out to the board. But anyone else has any requests, you can email me. Again, you can email info@Film Society. Please make sure to follow us on Facebook. Consider a donation. Make sure you subscribe to our email list and our podcast. And thank you. I'd say on behalf of all the staff and the board, thank you, Jerry, for attending.
Thank you, Erica.
Yeah, thanks, Erica, for putting it together. It looks really nice.
Great.
Looks good.
Yeah, great meeting, very informative.